It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. And we're live.
Yeah. What's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for sips of water.
We back.
Yeah. I just didn't want to interrupt myself trying to do the intro, and I almost did. So I took like an actor sip, and then I finished it. You know the actor sip, right?
I do.
Okay.
That's why I was like, the actor sip is great.
I took an actor bite, where you think I'm drinking or eating, and then I just get it done so fast that I'm able to jump back into the dialogue. But we are here to talk about a controversial topic. Yeah. Cheyenne Bryant, formerly known as Dr. Cheyenne Bryant by the public, is at it again, so to speak. There is a clip that resurfaced. I'm going to go back through the history very briefly here, and then talk about that clip that is resurfaced. We're going to play it, and then we're going to talk about kind of the whole story and unpack why we feel like...
Sorry.
What happened? Did I do a pun?
Yeah, well, no, the unpacking. You know, she's big on unpacking.
I didn't know that. I should have known that. But unpack why we think it's about the ethics and not about all the other stuff that's kind of surrounding this. And so a little bit of a history. She had some interviews with Club Shay Shay. She had some interviews with Cam Newton, even Corey Holcomb in the past. Yeah. She's done these tours and was on Basketball Wives and all these other people, all these other things. So if you don't know Cheyenne Bryant and her impact on the Black community and Black media space, she's been out here for a while. Fast forward, she goes on the Joe Budden podcast, and they start asking about her credentials, like what authority do you have to provide therapeutic services and those types of things. We'll get into that a little bit later when we talk about the ethics of the medical field in general as tied to the Black community. After that interview, the critics jumped into the comment section of all types of places, including Dr. Raquel Martin, who analyzed her comments on the Joe Budden podcast and said, these comments are misleading. Fast forward, she goes on the Breakfast Club a couple weeks later, still on this promo tour of trying to sell her book, and they ask her about her doctoral degree. They talk about the accreditation for the program that she went to. I didn't know that university was from Seattle. Their home branch is closed down in Seattle. Anyway, and then not only did they talk about that, they ask where her dissertation is, and she gives this story about why her transcripts can't be found or whatever. Let me finish before you giggle. Good. As all of this is unfolding, she is defending herself from the criticism, from the online backlash, and then we get a clip that surfaces from 2025. She is a co-host with Torre on a show, and in this clip, the show is called Truth Talks, and in this clip, she goes off on Torre, and Torre has the whole backstory, so you can go and watch that on YouTube. He talks about that. We're not going to talk about what the backstory is. Ultimately, she's running on about the topic of child, like whooping your child, basically, and gentle parenting, and her dislike of gentle parenting, and Torre's disagreement of that dislike. And ultimately, he's trying to wrap the show, and the conversation devolves into something that people are also talking about right now. So we're going to play that clip and then go from there.
I'm wrapping the show and you're interrupting me.
First of all,
this is what we spent a whole meeting on this.
First of all, Teray, first of all, Teray.
Why don't you let me wrap the show? I'm ending the show.
First of all,
what is the point of interrupting me? We're getting out of here. Like, what is the point? What is the point? It says go to host staff up.
When you're talking to me, lower your fucking voice when you're talking to me, because you're acting very, very gentle, very soft, and very feminine.
Pause it for a second.
Teray, you.
I should say that this is pre-taped. This is not live. So continue.
Talk to your wife like that. You don't talk to me like that. I am not your wife. You don't talk to me like that. I'm not your wife, Gentle. I'm not your wife, Softy. Don't talk to me like that. You talk to your wife like that. Not me. Teray, talk to your wife like that. Do not talk to me like that. That is not how you professionally. That is not how you professionally approach me. Don't fucking talk to me like that. Check.
Frank and Ariva, I apologize.
Check yourself.
That's the executive producer for those that are listening.
Yeah.
Doc, hold on.
Shut the fuck up talking to me like that. That's what you do. That's what you do. You better tap into your gentleness and real quick.
That's a good place to pause it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, and we really want to talk about the ethics of all of this situation, right? From this clip, I think starting at this clip and then going backwards throughout the history of this situation. So let's start with tap into your gentleness and how. I don't know, personally, I think that is unethical for someone that calls himself a doctor or a professional of therapy to do on a show, a professional show.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's a harsh criticism of gentle parenting, and it seems like a personal criticism of gentle parenting, because it's just like...
Wait a minute, she didn't say anything about gentle parenting. Well, I'm talking about the reaction.
No, I'm saying her reaction to him in terms of what she just said.
I'm saying... I don't think people have the context of, like, the gentle parenting conversation.
Well, I was just responding to her using that in that way in terms of what it was she was actually saying.
Okay, finish.
So her saying that in that way is like a critique of, like, hey, shouldn't you be gentle? You should be gentle here. You should be gentle. Like, what's going on? Handle that. Like, it's almost like it's just a spiraling that shows the unethics of her, because it's not unbiased. You're not sitting within a decision. You're critiquing and saying, the way you're speaking now, like, no, be what you said. Be the result or be the end of all these things. And it kind of just, like, you're supposed to be in the job that you're proclaiming to be in this doctorate that you have or don't have, unbiased and able to kind of like allow somebody to navigate emotions or de-escalate. And you're escalating based off of your personal feelings on the topic. And it's interesting to just kind of see how a lot of tropes are coming up in that conversation, whether it's the trope of getting the last word or antagonizing to a certain degree. And it's like, there is no right response or even a response that you actively want, because all of them end technically bad for Teray if he responds the way you are trying to provoke him to respond.
I think the problem is that she is assuming, number one, that he's raising his voice, because he didn't. And her reaction is as if he raised his voice to her. And her reaction is disproportionate to what they needed in the moment, which was to wrap the show and to do that and finish a job.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in front of a guest. And it's unethical because she's refusing to see where she is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And refusing to, like, if she feels offended, why don't they just wrap the show and they have that conversation privately? She is triggered in the moment, assuming that he was raising his voice. I think he was maybe being a little like passive aggressive in some sort of ways, right? Like saying that like he's. I think the way he sort of put it is that I think gentle parenting is a good thing, basically. And so her response to that is a retort.
Yeah. When
she didn't need the retort.
No.
She could have just let the show end and then addressed that passive aggressive concern if she felt it was that way. I think that is the first issue with ethics when it comes to this conversation. But like the other part is calling him soft or asking him to tap into his gentleness, or saying that he is not being masculine or he's acting feminine because he's upset that he can't wrap the show is problematic in and of itself by somebody that claims to be a professional. Her biases are coming out in a way that tell me that like if she has any clients that are like homosexual men, or she has any client that are men that are less masculine, so to speak, to define that in society's terms, then she doesn't like those type of people, or she has a certain set of preconceived ideas about that type of person.
Yeah, and then that's just problematic all around because you, as a therapist or whatever coach, you should still be, open to like where that person is trying to go. And this seems very short-sighted and tunnel vision, which is, again, unethical in that space where you really need someone who is unbiased, who is listening, who is seeing things from a wider perspective. And this was a very short one.
Yeah, so I think people have commented on this, and I think they've commented on the greater conversation about her credentials, and I think that leads to our part about the other ethical conversation of Black folks have a mistrust of the medical establishment, especially in the United States, for good reasons.
Yeah.
And so how is she perpetuating that mistrust?
I think because it's like, when she had a conversation about licensure and not being licensed, and there was a thing of like, we already distrust the industry, and the only reason you need to be licensed is for billing and stop. And it's like, well, that's not the only reason. And when you give information to us, when we have so many different areas where, as a group, we have been marginalized in the health and have a huge distrust of being taken care of just at base level.
Yeah, in pre-production, you brought up Tuskegee experiments.
Yeah.
We've talked about how people have been assumed in the medical profession that they can accept or tolerate more. Black folks can tolerate more pain, and experience more issues. We just finished talking about how medical professionals can have a bias and so therefore treat their patients differently or assume that they need to treat all of their patients the same due to those biases or lack of understanding of those biases. What about Black women in pregnancy? I think that's something that we also experience.
It's huge to me because there's a huge stat where on average there are 50.3 deaths per 100,000 live births, as done by a study that was published in February of 2025, but was to about 2023 was the information that they got
by the CDC.
And then that is disproportionately higher than for white women it's 14.5. In Hispanic women, it's 12.4, and Asian women, 10.7. Which, like, if you are going into any sort of health thing, like, that kind of number is alarmingly scary. Mm-hmm. With my own experience with that with me and my wife, like, I also had to deal with that where if we didn't have a doctor who was very vocal about the fact, like, hey, make sure if there's something going on, you say this, you like, we're going to make sure that you're taken care of. There could have been all kinds of...
We're going to compensate for all those biases in the system. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, she was making sure that we spoke out in front. And, like, with this, we have a mistrust. You know, whether it's with therapy, mental health, as we're trying to get into an age of actually tackling mental health, all of these questions shouldn't be a question. You should do everything in your power to reassure your community that you're trying to service because you want them to get and seek the help that they need. You want them to be in a better space. You want us to put down the PTSD of all these different things. You want us to be in a space where the current political structure isn't something that is weighing or burdening us, and yet we're in a place where we're having more conversations about your accreditation than what you're actually trying to do if it is help people.
Yeah, I also believe that she is responsible for letting people know that she focuses on coaching. If they need help from a licensed professional, they should seek that type of help separately from coaching and that guidance. And on top of that, when it comes to like seeking any medical treatment, should be mindful of how she could come off to the Black community.
Right. Like, and it feels more like a lot of times, this is my personal feeling, like this is just another person that's trying to be famous than actually bring up or bring more awareness to the need for mental health.
Famous and wealthy.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. Because also the whole thing, I think in the comments, or not in the comments, but in her conversation with Joe Budden and them, was about, like, you're unlicensed, so you get in the bag, you get to charge what you want to charge. And buyer beware.
Yeah, because it starts to create this, I think my comment on that was that creates this sort of DIY expert culture.
Yeah.
Where people that aren't extremely literate in understanding who has expertise and who needs to be criticized when it comes to expertise, will trust someone as the expert, right? Will get under the table. We'll have a under the table mechanic. We'll have the under the table doctor. We'll have the under the table this and that, and trust these folks. But those folks can do just as much harm as the quote unquote experts that are out there, right? The ones that do have the accreditation, the ones that do have the transcripts and the dissertations to back themselves up. Mm-hmm. And so it's really difficult to know who to trust in today's age, especially with the internet, when we're having these parasocial relationships with these people. Right. And what Cheyenne Bryant needs to be mindful of is that parasocial relationship.
Yeah. And using the metrics that we have in place is not a bad thing. Like, unlicensed means you have no metrics that I can even go by to make sure on any kind of level that you're actually qualified for the thing that you're doing, other than just trusting you.
Turn it into trust me borrow therapy.
Yeah, like, and that's no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, so this episode is brought to you by Ground News. If you're tired of news bias and algorithms manipulating the way you see the world, Ground News is the perfect app to show you that bias and the factuality of your news sources. With Ground News, we want to monitor what's going on in the world of music, entertainment, and politics, and get an understanding of what to talk about on the show on a regular basis and know how to discuss it in a factual way. So you can get 40% off your Ground News Vantage subscription with the link down in the description. So check out Ground News today. So I think at this point, continuing like the ethical conversation, we've kind of touched on her credentials and calling herself a doctor from the lens of Black folks that are harmed. Mm-hmm. Like, what else is the issue of running around with pseudo credentials, so to speak?
I think because we already are respecters of titles. So people are looking for an authority. We're looking for the expertise, whether we dissect through this person's credentials or not. If somebody has doctor, PhD, any of these things alongside their name, there's already a built-in trust of, well, you must know. Like, and we just go with whatever until we get here where you have proven otherwise. But that takes longer because the doctor gives me basically a perceived safe space is what I'm trying to say. Like, I got caught up in like trying to figure out like, no, it just makes me feel safe because you have that in front of your name.
Yeah. But I think all of those credentials come with some academic rigor, right? So at your bachelor's level, right, if you graduate from college, you had to do a certain amount of study, mm-hmm. right? But you're taking those 1 in 200 courses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at your master's level, you're taking those 300 courses and so forth. And that just means that, like, at some point, you're going to, at your master's level, you're going to do some research. Mm-hmm. And you're going to know how to read research. You're going to know how to interpret research. You're going to know how to understand methodology and why that is, why is it important or problematic. Like, I think into the doctoral portion, you're going to understand how to apply that research to a greater point in the population, so to speak, and just kind of start making real impacts on society in a way that are helpful and not necessarily harmful. And I think when people first misuse these titles, it's problematic. And then when people trust all of these titles, it's problematic. And then when people don't trust some of these titles, it's also problematic.
Yeah.
And we're caught in all three of those factions. And so I think the best way to kind of combat that is being mindful of ways to get people to understand who to trust and who not to trust. And Cheyenne Bryant calling herself a doctor just muddies the water for that academic rigor that we're looking for, to be able to discern the difference between who to trust and not.
Yeah, it makes a Spider-Man meme of us. Like, as a consumer, I would look at this and be like, well, she has doctor, I should trust. And then if I go and I try to like look or discern something, right? So the two opposite ends of the spectrum. So you have her who is licensed, not licensed, whatever she got going on. And then, like I was saying, off air, you also have a Dr. Oz aspect of it where it's like, at least you know he's a doctor, but on the same hand has all of these problematic things going on in so many different ways under current administration of things, right? And you got to be able to figure out somebody that actually cares about you, where you are. And it's very hard when on both fringes you have huge examples, huge public examples of things that are not actually trying to help you. And then you have other people, whether it's lawyers, that are also just saying things within the medical field. It's almost like you just gotta breathe and be alive to speak on the medical field in general. And it's like, no, that's not how society should work, and how we've placed these things within our society to actually help people. And like, as a consumer, we gotta find better ways of getting to the actual help to help us be healthier, to help us survivability, to increase all these different things, if that's what we're actually trying to do collectively.
I want to talk about the last thing on the list. I think, because this is a perfect segue, people have to be able to discern who the experts are online and be more critical of those experts. Simultaneously,
same line.
I think we know what simultaneously. At the same time, we need to be in a place where if an expert says, here's what we think about COVID, and this person has the research to back them up, they have the history of being trustworthy to back them up, all of those things, we can't also start to degrade and deteriorate what expertise means in our society either.
Yeah.
Right? And I understand that, like, the United States government cannot always be trusted. Commercial companies cannot always be trusted. Bureaucratic agencies cannot always be trusted. People in general cannot always be trusted. At the same time, there are so many people that are doing things above board that it is hurting their credibility when people show up like Cheyenne Bryant trying to do things under the table. And being able to spot the Cheyenne Bryants is what I think the public should be able to do.
Yeah.
And discern the difference between them and the other things. And Cheyenne, for her credit, her website only says, I'm a coach.
As of today. We'll make sure we clarify, because it could change. I don't want to pigeonhole.
We didn't need to say that. I think her website today, right, says I'm a coach, right? If it said anything else, whatever. But today it says I'm a coach, and it would be important for us to go and I would say accept only what people are good at as the reason to trust that person. Even this podcast, right? Do not look at us as experts in anything outside of rapping, maybe me for education, maybe Joe for other things like anime related and gaming related, those types of things. But like when we talk about some of these topics, there's still a certain depth at which we're able to go without tripping over ourselves and looking at us as trusted sources. Podcasts are not meant to be that, unless that person says, I study this for a living, I am in this on a regular basis, I have X years of experience with this is what my experience is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we are very clear that it's my opinion. You can take it or leave it. But I would hope that you would have your own opinions and that you would share them down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit that bell notification so you can be notified for every time that we drop some new content. We'll see you in the next piece, a 1 and a 2 and a peace.